Well, good morning. Congratulations to you and your teacher on being here. We are looking forward to a lively conversation with you. Our question for today, in comparison to other democracies.
We introduce ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. We're just so anxious to hear you, we couldn't wait. All right.
I'm Steve Franzik. I teach political science at the U.S. Naval Academy.
I'm Scott Kawasaki. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska, where I work in administration at a hospital, and I am also the youngest member of the Alaska Legislature.
And I'm Margaret Branson, Associate Director for the Center for Civic Education. And you are?
We're all seniors at Maggie Walker Governor's School in Richmond, Virginia. My name is Charlie Shobe.
My name is Elsa Schultz.
My name is Travis McCall.
And this is our coach, Mr. Matt McGuire.
All right, now we will read the question. In comparison to other democracies, the American political culture still contains many of the values that make for vibrant democracy. And these have even increased, may have even increased over the past several decades. Tocqueville would not recognize contemporary America, but he still might conclude that his observations about democracy in America generally hold true today. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Tocqueville said that there was greater opportunity and equality of condition among people in America than anywhere else. Is that still true? What evidence can you offer to support your position? Tocqueville also said that Americans sought to rely on their own efforts to solve problems and to resist the evils and difficulties of life. Is that still true today, and what evidence can you offer?
Alexis de Tocqueville would recognize contemporary America because we have fulfilled some of his darker predictions for the future. In Democracy in America, Tocqueville wrote extensively on the fragility and potential for decline of American political culture. He wrote that Americans, quote, do not naturally have the taste to occupy themselves with the public, and that people, quote, accept for a general principle that the public power ought not to intervene in private affairs, but seek to attract the action of the government to their side, all the while wanting to shrink it for everyone else, end quote. Unfortunately, Tocqueville accurately predicted a lack of community involvement and substantive civic participation. Technological advances have made it easier for Americans to be socially and politically independent of each other. During the 1950s, the share of households with televisions rose from 10% to 90%. Additionally, modern Americans watch between 3 and 4 hours of television per day on average, taking time away from possible civic activities. Americans are now 25 to 50% less likely than they were 30 years ago to join secondary organizations such as fraternal groups, spend significant time with their neighbors, or work for organizations that benefit their communities. Certainly, there is a noticeable fraction of the population that participates in political campaigns, local festivals, and other important community activities.
However, this involvement does not fully compensate for the disengagement of the remainder of the population. A strong faith in and sense of responsibility to government are extremely important characteristics of a vibrant democracy. The Founding Fathers agreed that as rulers of our new nation, the people needed to show civic virtue and energetic participation in government. At present, voter turnout in congressional elections does not reliably break 50%, and Congress has an approval rating of 22%. Many citizens don't see government as something they take part in for the benefit of society. Instead, it's just another inconvenience, a tax bill that comes once a year. But there are others who see government as the answer to every problem they face. In their eyes, the government should be providing them with ever-increasing services, such as more policemen, cheaper health care, and better roads. But citizens rarely admit that to receive more, it is necessary to give more. More services mean more taxes. For government to be a positive force in society, increased citizen vigilance and participation are needed. Political leaders, unwilling to give the public a reality check, share all the guilt of the people in this disconnect.
Americans have to some extent stopped relying on their own efforts to solve problems due to the pervasive belief that citizens can have all of their problems solved by the government at no increased cost. There has been a palpable shift over the past century from small local associations in which members exercise real control to organizations like the AARP, where members simply send in a donation once a year. This practice of checkbook democracy has largely replaced substantive participation, weakening our communities and therefore our government. Another aspect of American society that Tocqueville would still recognize is the equality of opportunity and condition. Income partially determines condition, which is therefore inherently unequal. However, condition is now less unequal than it was in Tocqueville's time due to welfare and other social programs. Equality of opportunity has greatly advanced since the 1830s as women and African Americans have gained suffrage and equal property rights. Equality of opportunity also increased with the advent of mandatory public education and increased access to information through the internet. Overall, though, this equality is undermined by our declining civil society. Tocqueville would not be pleased with much of modern America. However, he would certainly recognize today's political culture as a result of observations he made about Americans' lack of commitment to the public. Thank you, and we're ready for your questions.
We've heard a lot in the last couple of months about the Tea Party organization, activities. Thinking about it from both a constitutional perspective and perhaps Tocqueville's perspective, would they encourage the Tea Party, ignore it, or would they try to stop it?
Well, I think that Tocqueville would see the Tea Party as an example of something that he feared in American society, which was sort of the overreaching of democracy into a mobocracy. And so he would see this as a movement that is based not on solutions, but based on another observation he made about Americans tending toward mediocrity, wanting to pull other people down to their level, wanting to elect people who are just like them and vote out people who are not.
But at the same time, I would say the Tea Party does have some values in it that Tocqueville would recognize as positive. For example, the fact that the Tea Party is not an official party that has any seats in any of the Congress, House of Representatives or Senate, combined with the fact that they still have influence in our government is, I would say, a positive aspect.
And looking at it from a constitutional standpoint, I think Tocqueville would be worried about some of the more extreme reaches of the Tea Party movement, such as their recent movement to start a militia in Ohio for the purpose of protecting states against federal infringement on state sovereignty. I think that would worry him that we were moving away from just the civil discourse into another realm that would be violent.